Hello and welcome to the Results with Ronnie podcast. My name is Ronnie Walker, Master Coach of Exceptional Relationships and Sex, and you are part of the MrRelationshipMan.com podcast series, as well as the website, ResultsWithRonnie.com. And what we're going to be discussing today for just a short amount of time is dating. A process, a system, a journey, a strategy, intention, chasing, pursuing, courting. Is it one of those things? Is it all of those things based on how you feel at the moment? What is it? And has it changed? I believe it has, in some ways. Now again, one could debate whether or not it's changed for the better or worse. But if there's one thing I do know, is that it is something that's not going to end. It may take different forms. There may be things that you add on to dating now that you didn't add 50 years or so ago, but it's there. And it's something that you do, and time you spend with someone that you are interested in the hopes and prayers of many that this will be the one you move on into living a life of happily ever after. Now, whether that turns into marriage, or maybe that turns into some eternal partnership that doesn't include the formalities of marriage, that's your choice. But it is something that I think needs to be discussed from time to time, because I guess because we're just complex creatures, we're sometimes have the tendency to make certain things that are very simple, or at least in theory should be, very, very complicated. And so what I decided to do just, in my thoughts, as I was sitting here reading some things, to really go over what I feel are the basics. Now, just for the sake of this particular podcast, I'm only going to list 3, but there are more. I really truly believe that when we're talking about connecting with another individual, that there are just certain basic fundamentals that we need to be aware of and that we need to practice. I'm still of the mindset of a man, if he is going to be the pursuer of that he's also the protector. I believe in safety in terms of the time that you're going to spend, of course, at all times, with someone that you are interested in. But it's particularly interesting that sometimes there are things that, there are those instances where it just doesn't go according to plan, or maybe it wasn't part of the plan. But this is something that I really encourage men especially to make sure that it is something you do first and foremost for a woman that you're looking to include in your life for a lifetime. But I'm just going to go over these 3 points because I think they're very, very important, because based on the age that you're dating and the reasons that you're dating vary. And so sometimes we tend to, in our quest to meet Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, that we keep these in mind. Now again, this is in no certain order. Use it as best you can for your benefit, but I believe they are important. So what is the first thing? Well, the first thing I believe is understanding. Before you go on your next date, if this is a talk you need to have with yourself, look in the mirror while you're having that last minute pep talk, or talking to your girlfriends, your guy friends, or whoever it may be. Before you open that door to go out, have some understanding. Why? Well, again, you go into a relationship to give. I believe in the connection, but you go in to give. And many people go in there into relationships to just receive, seeing what they can get out of it. And that really ends up in a very not so pretty place. So when I talk about understanding, what I'm talking about is, keep in mind that the person you're going on a date with may be tired too. they've been on date after date, and what looked to be the right person turns out not to be the right person. Doesn't make the other person a bad person. It's just not who they thought he or she was. And over time, and especially after you get to a certain age, your patience for meeting that person tends to wear just a little thin, or some would argue a lot. But just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Just says, okay, you know what? I'm hoping this is the one. This may be the 5th date for the week or for the month or whatever it is. But just keep in mind that that other person is going through probably what you're going through too. And that may help in some of the decisions you make, the words that may come out of your mouth. Also understand they may have battle scars as well. Battle scars from marriages, previous relationships, previous dates. And what you don't want to do is have who hurts worse or who've been hurt worst on your first or second or third date. Just assume that, especially when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and older, that this is not their first date, and probably not their first relationship, or second or third. And that could be said it's the same for marriage. So they have battle scars just like you have battle scars. And I say that because a lot of us go into these situations where they're very, very guarded. And then they realize that the other person's guarded. Again, when you're dealing with somebody else, it's not just about you. But I'm not saying don't be concerned or making sure that you're not guarded. I want you to be guarded. I want you to make sure that you're looking out for yourself. But again, just understand that they have some pains that they may have had to deal with as well. They may be new to the dating game after a divorce. Now, this is something this is for those who, let's just say they've been married 15, 20, 30 years. And coming back out into the dating world it's like a brand new obstacle course. And since then, we now have dating apps, the internet, a whole slew of things that can happen, or tools that they could or may not want to access because, again, starting over and meeting someone new is a whole new journey for them. And see, this doesn't have to mean that this is something that the breakup could have been due to a death. It could have been due to growing apart, and they just realized that they were not where they were or want to be moving forward, and they've separated themselves and figure it's best for each person to go their own way. So as we know, in the terms of divorce and breakups, there are many different reasons that this can happen. Whereas many people I speak to, the default is, who cheated? Did she cheat? Did he cheat? What is it? Somebody had to have done something. Why were you together so long and all of a sudden now you're out here on the dating scene? So understanding that this is something that you're going to learn. If that person, and you may have a bit of an idea of what it is, at least why you agreed to go on the date in the first place, or ask her out on the date. But know that this is maybe a new venture for them. So just understand it may take them a little to warm up and get into this new groove that they're now establishing. This whole dating space is, again, not the same as it was many years ago. Also understand that dating can be very, very expensive. And over time, it adds up. Now, of course, in a perfect world, every man is making, $2.5 million an hour. But that's just not the reality. So for those that you have who are very affluent and, they have the resources which They don't look at it that way. It's not of concern to them. You have those that it is that. They really truly have to budget for those dates. But gentlemen, I also want you to understand that the dating space is an investment. Yes, yeah, in a perfect world, maybe you can meet the person that is going to spend life with you, life everlasting, free. But that's just not the reality, you know. And this whole pre-date thing, I'm just not a big fan of. I'm still waiting for someone to convince me as to why, and you want to make sure. Look, one of the biggest things that you need to have in your life when establishing a relationship, being in a relationship, maintaining a relationship, and working towards a relationship is courage. Nothing's guaranteed. You're not promised you're going to wake up tomorrow. So spend the money. And it doesn't have to always be a $400 dinner. Many creative ways. And what's interesting is how many women are really not requesting that. Some of them are just happy for ice cream, somewhere, hors d'oeuvres, a glass of wine. What they're looking for is the conversation. They want to see you face to face. They want to observe your body language. So I get it. 2, 3, 4 dates a week adds up over the course of a month, adds up pretty quickly. Then the other solution is not to date as much. Just take some time in between dates. Process that. Again, the right one is out there if you have the proper mindset moving forward in this dating space. But I don't want you to focus so much on the money that you end up missing out on a great conversation and an incredible time with an incredible woman. Number 2, have fun regardless. Ladies and gentlemen, decide that when you walk out that door, that regardless of what's going to happen, that you are going to have a good time. So maybe the first date will be a place of fun. It doesn't have to be so serious and intense. Maybe you want to see the sense of humor in them. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you feel that your safety is at risk, don't prolong that date. Excuse yourself and go to where it's safe. So I'm not telling you that you're going to find fun in spending time with a man or woman that you're not really feeling too keen on. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm just saying that, again, having a good time, having a good mindset or a space that you both can share some laughs is always a good thing when you're going out on a date. So you may go to an improv and hear some jokes. You get a sense of what his sense of humor is, what her sense of humor is, and then afterwards you spend some time having dessert, or again, maybe hors d'oeuvres, or heck, it could be a full-blown dinner, or you have dinner before the improv. But again, have something fun in line with that. Laugh a little. It really, truly takes the edge off this whole journey that you're going on to meet this person. So go to a place of fun. Have fun regardless. I've heard my share of horrific dates, and there are situations that it seems to be impossible to come out of with a laugh. But yet, there are those who have found a way to laugh in spite of all of that. They were just not going to let it get them down. And that this is just part of the journey that they're on to meet the person they really want to be with. And number 3, accept. Accept that on this date, this particular night, this person may not be the one, and that's okay. He or she may ring your bell in the looks department, the height department, the dress department, and the initial thing over the phone call or maybe where you folks originally met, he or she said all the right things. And then over dinner or the walk in the park or wherever it may be, you find out some things that just is not in line with yours. And I'll tell you, this is a very challenging time because you say, okay, well, there's 12 things great, but there's one thing wrong. And maybe that should overlook that one thing wrong. And what ends up happening is that you end up calling me for a consultation or coaching. There are just things that are non-negotiables. So, accept that this may not be the one. Even if there were some good traits to this person, this man or woman. Doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they're just not the person for you. And not that you're looking for perfection. I never want to give that impression that you're out here looking for perfection. But at the same time, just know that I don't want you to be in a situation where you make a decision you regret. Also accept that it makes sense to try to learn something from each and every date. Learn the lesson. I get it. Sometimes some dates are just not what you hoped it would be. He is a real you-know-what. She is a real you-know-what. But so what? Take some mental notes and find out what it is that you could have learned from this particular situation. If at the very least you got out the house. Gentlemen, that includes you too. And just make it clear that I'm sorry, but this is not going to work. I'm looking to go in this direction, and it appears to go in your direction. And of course, neither of you want to be a distraction to either one. So at least learn the lesson. There is always a lesson in there if you're looking. Also accept the fact that although it may not be the first, second, or third date, it may take a couple of dates to finally meet him or her. Again, in a perfect world, yes. It would be the first person you meet, first person you go on a date on, fireworks happen. But you know what? Some of the most intense, passionate relationships that I've read about, heard about, and even those that I've coached, if you hear their story, they were not the first person for each of them. Some of them was the second, other was the 12th. It goes on and on. The stories vary. And so for him and for her, for you, you may have to kiss a few frogs before you meet that prince or princess. Just accept that. Last but not least, in accepting, accept that you will not settle. There are too many couples that express pain, hurt, heartbreak. Now, if you're lucky, you both will come to the realization that you're no longer happy with each other, and you both move on. But many stay in relationships they know they shouldn't be in. They've settled. And there's a lot of pain in hearing those stories. But all of that can be prevented if you know who you are and you're real clear on what you're looking for, what he or she has to be for you to entertain them. And that's important. It's not going to be perfect. Once again, we're not chasing perfection. But I don't want you to settle for something less than what you feel you are worthy of. So the 3 things to remember for your next date is understanding, have fun, and accept. I hope this helps someone. Please like, listen, share, subscribe to the Results with Ronnie podcast series. You can also reach the podcast by going to www.mrrelationshipman.com. That's www.mrrelationshipman.com. For consult and coaching, you go to www.resultswithronnie.com, and there you have a menu of the type of coachings I provide. You can also email me at ronnie@resultswithronnie.com if you have any questions or comments, suggestions on future topics. This is something that I'll be doing ongoing. Most of it will be scheduled. Others will just be impromptu, as I feel it's just something I need to address. And this could be just inspiration on things that I may have read, thoughts that come into my mind. And sometimes, a lot of cases, it's just having coachings and consultations with singles and couples. Many of them reach out to me and say, Ron, why don't you share this? Why don't you share this? I believe in this. I believe in relationships. I believe in connections. I believe that that person that you're looking for is out there. But it starts with you, and it starts with the way that you're perceiving of what's going on in your life, how you're living your life, and what you believe is out there. And I hope these tools and strategies and resources that I share can be of some value to you and to those you know and love and care about. So again, my name is Ronnie Walker, Master Coach of Exceptional Relationships and Sex, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon. I want you to have a nice day, a nice night, and an exceptional date. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.